Hi guys, Mariam's here with English Free Shop, and in this session I'm going to talk about the future. There are several ways to talk about future in English. Sometimes the difference between the meanings and the uses of different structures are not easy to analyze and describe clearly, and sometimes there are two or more ways to talk about the same event in future. We will discuss all of these and more in this video, so without further delay, let's get started. The first structure to use with future is will. So first we talk about the structure. The structure of the will sentences is subject plus will plus infinitive without to. For the question sentences, we put will at the beginning of the sentence, will plus subject plus infinitive without to, and for the negative, we use won't plus infinitive without to. For example, it will be cold tomorrow. Will it be cold tomorrow? It won't be cold tomorrow. When do we use will? So first is to predict the future. We often use will in prediction of future events to talk about what we think, guess, or calculate will happen in the future. Usually after I think, I hope, I guess, we use will. Example, I think our soccer team will win on Sunday. To talk about future events that are not decided, if we haven't decided about the future event beforehand, we use will. In offers, requests, promises, and threats. Is your bag heavy? I'll carry it for you. I offer to carry it for you. So in this case, because it's an offer, we use will. I'll study harder next semester. Here we are making a promise. So again, we use will to make a promise, request, and threat. For decisions that we make at the moment of speaking, for example, I give you 30% of discount, and the customer says, okay, I'll buy it. The customer just decides at the moment of speaking that he will buy the product, so we use will. Of course, in first conditional sentences, we use will to express conditional ideas when we say what will happen if something else happens first. If it rains, we'll stay at home. The structure is subject plus to be plus going plus infinitive. To ask question, we put to be at the beginning of the sentence, to be plus subject plus going plus infinitive. To make negative, we add not to verb to be, subject plus to be plus not plus going plus infinitive. For example, she's going to cook pizza tonight. Is she going to cook pizza tonight? She isn't going to cook pizza tonight. When do we use be going to for future? We use be going to talk about plans, especially in an informal style. This structure often emphasizes the idea of intention or a decision that has already been made. For example, we are going to get a new car. We have already decided that we are going to get a new car. Another use of the going to structure is to predict the future on the basis of present evidence, to say that a future action or event is on the way or starting to happen. When we can see the evidence of something that is going to happen, we use to be going to. For example, she's going to have a baby in June. So it is already planned and it is already decided. The date is completely affirmed. So we can use going to for this because we have all the evidence to prove that this is going to happen. Look at the sky, it's going to rain. So there are rain clouds in the sky. It is obvious and we can see the evidence that it is going to rain. So when we can see the evidence of the future event, we use going to. Going to also can be used to insist that people do things or do not do things. For example, she's going to take the medicine whether she likes it or not. Or, you're not going to play football in my garden. It is also used when we want to put emphasis on something. I'm going to sit up all night listening to your problems. So another structure that we use for future is present progressive. I'm sure you know the Structure for present progressive, we use subject plus to be plus verb plus ing. For the questions, we put to be at the beginning, to be plus subject plus verb plus ing. And for the negative, we use subject plus to be plus not plus verb plus ing. For example, I'm buying a new car this week. Are you buying a new car this week? I'm not buying a new car this week. When do we use present progressive for future? We use the present progressive for future actions and events that have some present reality. It is most common in discussions of personal arrangements and fixed plans when the time and place have been decided. For example, what are you doing this evening? I'm watching a movie. I have already decided that I'm going to watch TV. So in this case, we use I'm watching TV. We're traveling around Europe next summer. Imagine we have already booked everything. We have already booked our flight. We have already booked the hotel and everything is ready. So in this case, we use present continuous. We can also use going to in this case, but the difference is very subtle. When we use going to, it means that the decision has been made. We have made the decision or we have the intention and plan. But when we use present progressive, it means everything is arranged, everything is fixed, and we are going to do this 100%. As I mentioned before, we're traveling around Europe next summer. It means we have already booked our hotels and our flight and everything is certain. We also use present progressive with the verbs of movement to talk about actions which are just starting. For example, I'm just popping out to the post office. I'll be back soon. Get your coat. I'm taking you down to the doctor. So usually when we have the movement actions, instead of going to, we use present progressive to talk about future. We're going to compare present progressive and going to. So what are the differences? I have already mentioned one of the differences between present progressive or going to talk about future. We are going to talk about more differences. For example, we use present progressive for fixed arrangement as I already mentioned. We use going to for the intentions and decisions. For example, I'm seeing Jack tonight. The emphasis is on the arrangement. We have already arranged and the meeting is going to happen. I'm really going to tell him what I think of him. So here the emphasis is on my intention. I intend to tell him what I really think of him when I meet him. So I'm talking about my intentions to what to do when I meet him. So I use I'm going to. Another example is like who's cooking lunch and who's going to cook lunch. If I say who's cooking lunch, I'm asking what have been planned, what have you decided about who is cooking tonight. But if I say who's going to cook lunch, I'm asking about your decision. Have you decided? We can sometimes use the simple present to talk about the future. It is common when we are talking about events which are part of a timetable, a regular schedule, or something similar. For example, the summer term starts on April 10th. That's we are talking about a schedule, a timetable. What time does the bus arrive in Seattle? Again, we are talking about the timetable. So in these cases, we can use simple present for future. The simple present is often used with a future meaning in subordinate clauses in first conditional sentences. Usually in this case, before the present simple, we use when, where, until, if, or then. For example, I'll call you when I arrive. Of course, I will arrive in future, but because this is a first conditional sentence, in the subordinate clause, we must use simple present, even if the meaning is in future. Occasionally, the simple present is used with a future meaning when asking for or giving instructions. For example, where do I pay? Okay, that's it for this session. We talked about the different structures that we can use for future. I hope you liked it and it was useful for you. See you next time. Take care of yourselves.